Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching this recording from, or not recording. I'm live on Facebook and LinkedIn. Thank you for showing up. I'm glad that you're here. My name is Denise Belisle, and I'm a Serenity expert. Phone first, etiquette of Zoom. I'm a Serenity expert and positive intelligence specialist. The purpose of my live today is every Monday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. I do a live, and I usually invite someone that's very special, someone that I have talked to in the past, that I have interviewed already in the past, and I found that they have something very amazing to bring to us, to the people that are listening. And but the reason why I do this show, it's called It's All Good, Look Who's Here for a Chat. It's because I found that life, whichever way you take it, you have to tell yourself it's all good. And also, main reason is my favorite cup. It's all good. And I drink from that cup every day. So it's a good reminder every time I have things happening in my life that if it's positive, say, hey, it's all good. And if it's negative, say, it's all good. There's always something good that's going to come out of that. So on the show today, today is episode 13, I think, with Alicia Maness. I'm going to bring her on right now. And I just want to say, if you're online, please feel free to share in the chat, share your comment, ask us question. Here's Alicia. And we'll be happy to answer your question as they come along. Don't be shy to say hello. It's always good to have a few comments. So I see there's a few people watching. Just say hi. We're not going to bite you. Say from where you're from. It's always good to know where people are from. So today I have Alicia Maness, and the topic of our conversation is cultivating power. What is power, and how can we own it, grow it, and use it? Wow, that's pretty amazing. So Alicia Maness is an executive coach with boundless curiosity about her interpersonal power supports group, purpose and organizational. You know, it's really hard to say that word for French people. So I'll have to say it 100 times one day so I can say it properly. Organizational health. She coaches established and rising leaders who are motivated to uplevel their influence, impact, and power so they can implement their vision more effectively also. Learn more about her at aliciamaness.com. So welcome, Alicia. I'm super happy to have you here today with me. And would you like to add a little bit more on what I've said, like where you're from, I think where about you live, and a little bit about yourself if you feel like it?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. So I'm based in Oakland, California. I am a San Francisco native, though I've lived in a lot of different countries, a lot of different places. My backgrounds, I have several different backgrounds. So I've worked in corporate spaces and corporate retail as a creative, and then started a yoga journey, which led me to having a pretty profound value shift. And throughout that, I decided, I just had to be in direct service of people. And I ended up going to graduate school for occupational therapy. I earned a master's of science in occupational therapy, which is activity-based rehabilitation, activity-based therapy. And within that, my expertise was in psychosocial trauma-informed occupational therapy. So I worked a lot with young adults and youth who had severe trauma. So I did that for many, many years, and eventually shifted to coaching. And I did a lot of coaching within occupational therapy. But what I found is that I really enjoy working with leaders, with very high functioning people who are really changing the world and making positive impact. And I'm very fascinated, endlessly fascinated with the topic of power.
Wow, that's super cool. I mean, what I found very intriguing and interesting with that is that the fact that you've seen so many different paths, you've taken so many different paths and so many different avenue to helping people and to empowering them to in every way of their life, right? And now you combine all that and you bring it to people in a silver platter. I think that's super cool. That's your superpower.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for seeing that. And yeah, it's this privilege and honor to just have work where it's fully integrative, right? It brings in like every single skill set I've ever accessed. And yeah, it's a huge honor.
Wow, that's super cool. So let me know, what is power, and what led you to your interest in it? Like, why you said that it led you to that, but how did that work out? Like, how did that came about?
Yeah. So I'll take each portion of that question separately because
Of
they're
course.
each kind of huge.
What is
What is
power?
power? The more I reflect on it, the more I talk about it, every day is kind of, it could be a lifelong study. What is power, right?
Hmm.
The simplest definition, and I have a few we can play with here, but the simplest sort of go-to definition that I enjoy is that power is simply the ability to achieve purpose and affect change.
Hmm.
So it's a very sort of simple, clean definition.
I
And
think you
often,
have to say that again to make sure people
yes,
understood. So power is.
power is the ability to achieve purpose and affect change.
Hmm.
Right. So very simply, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's power is such a loaded word. It's such a charged word, and sometimes people have a lot of reactivity against it, right? But this definition, I think, is very just neutral and keeps it very
Yeah.
simple. But I do have a few other definitions that we can just explore and play with because I think each one brings its own nuance and complexity.
Uh-huh.
If you'd like to hear.
Sure, of course.
Okay, awesome. So another definition that I really enjoy is from a book called Boundless, Kasia Urbaniak's work. So power is a function of strong relationships where you can receive from the people and organizations in your life. Like what you receive is exactly what you need and want,
Hmm.
and where what we give is valued by the receivers.
Mm.
And the reason I love that definition is that it brings in relationship, right? Like power is sort of an exchange between humans, right? It's an interaction.
Yeah.
Um, and it brings in the alignment. Like when we have power, there is sort of an alignment between what we give and what we receive. And there's like a sort of a smooth exchange of that.
Wow. Okay, great. That's
Uh,
awesome.
I'm curious how that lands for you.
Yeah, I think it makes a big influence, like, because when we interact with people, we are either powerful or powerless in some ways. We could be neutral, but depending as if you want to go in the leadership role, you have to have a powerful interaction with people without being overbearing, right? Like it's the difference between the two, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just how do we exchange energy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way we can receive and give back, and yeah, that's super cool. So tell me, how did you came about to love power and wanted to work with it?
Yeah. Um, so I think that a lot of times when people are in, a healing or helping profession, such as coaching, or therapy, or, whatever path it might be, we often teach or focus on what we need to learn, right? That's what I've discovered, or that's what's true for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that growing up, I felt somewhat powerless. I mean, I was always kind of shy growing up. And so I would watch the way certain family members would have so much charisma or, kind of work a room, or my grandfathers. I had two grandfathers, one biological and one step grandfather, who each were very, very powerful, very unique, had sort of complex forms of power. And just watching I only knew one of them directly, but watching the way he could work a room was always fascinating. I didn't have language for it at the time, right?
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So, witnessing who governs the flow of attention, right? Who can direct the flow of attention and kind of who's impossible to not watch, right? Who has that charisma and magnetism. What is that? So I was always curious as a kid, and then and as a teenager, kind of shy and silent myself and introverted. And then let's see, when I found my voice more, and I found more sort of power when I went to a women's college. I went to Barnard College in New York City, and started playing with expression. Like, what did it feel like to actually speak in a course, right, in a seminar? And then my observations continue, like which professors had more power, which were more effective, which were charismatic, which drew the most students, right? So that was just always fascinating. And then when I worked in the corporate world, right, like who's really driving the decisions? That was always fascinating. Who's really running the meetings, and who's just sort of like a yes person? And,
who's the pawn and who's the king and the queen, right?
Yeah. So those dynamics and all that is unspoken, right? Both like sort of formalized in terms of hierarchical power and unspoken power, endlessly fascinating. And then just continuing my journey, when I went into yoga, I was like, oh, okay, now I'm seeing these teachers who are powerful, like in their form, in their flexibility, in their strength. And they seem to have a whole different kind of power and self-possession and sort of expression of dignity than, what I've witnessed to date, right? A different way of sort of carrying themselves in the world. So just ongoing studies, and then switching gears. When I became an occupational therapist, I worked with a lot of powerless people, right? So I was in trauma-informed care. Most traumas occur when we feel powerless, right? From an experience of powerlessness.
That's very interesting, the fact that, like, I love the path that you laid from a very young age, and looking at your elder, your grandfather walking into a room, and you can feel that. You can feel it. We haven't had so many in-person meetings in a long time, but you can feel it when we do, and you have a powerful person that walk into the room, and whether they say something or not, they grab the attention of the people in the room. It's like, oh, he's here now, right? Like, right?
Exactly.
And it's the same as you grew, like, and that's surprising when you mentioned, even your professor at college, and I've never really thought about it this way, because power is not my passion, but I can feel that it's been something that has been brewing in you for years now, and I can understand that you would be definitely the person to work towards that, because it's something you've been doing for a very long time.
Yeah. What I find perpetually fascinating is there's so many avenues to access power. There are many ways we can access it through
Is it something that people can cultivate? Is it something that, if somebody is not so powerful, can they learn to rise up and become more powerful?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's one of the outcomes that I offer in my coaching.
Oh, cool. So how do we do that?
Yeah. So many ways.
Power 101.
So many ways there. I just want to backtrack a little bit to something you said when you mentioned how, when somebody comes in the room and you can feel it, and you spoke to that very effectively. I just wanted to share that, a lot of my clients, people in the C-suite, like the air changes when a CEO walks into the room, right? And sometimes my clients feel, there can be fear, there can be intimidation, or there can be like no real truth telling. Like the air changes when somebody with power walks in, right?
Yeah.
And so just that dynamic. So sometimes people I'm working, on like, okay, how do we develop comfort and just a certain relaxation when we speak to the board, right? When we present to our colleagues, when we show up in that room with a lot of colleagues, and maybe people higher than us in the structure, how do we deal with our own nervous systems?
Mm-hmm.
They sort of respond to that power, right? And all the invisible forces of it. So I just think that on its own is a perpetually fascinating topic. But how do we cultivate it? Great question. So many ways. So one frame I want to offer before I go into that is just that one of my definitions of power that I didn't get to earlier is mastery of our nervous system, right? And the capacity to relax in any situation. So if it's a tense situation, can we relax into that tension, right? Can we acknowledge it, feel it, navigate through our nervous systems so that we can relax? If it's an awkward situation, be like, okay, this is awkward. I'm going to relax into it, So it's sort of a mastery of our nervous system. And that's sort of a physiological, neurological way to explore it. And within that, with the Power 101, how do people cultivate more power? Just so many ways. So I'll start with one of my passions, which is language and communication.
Okay.
Right. So within that, there's the power comes from learning when to use precision, when to use ambiguity, when to come from a compassionate place, like when to be vulnerable, and then how to be skillfully vulnerable, when to have perspective taking and the capacity to adapt our language and communication style to who we're speaking to. So all of those within communication alone. So that's one path. We imagine like a bicycle wheel, right, with a lot of spokes. So one of those spokes to the center of power, the hub of power would be language and communication. There are a lot of other spokes. So
okay, give me another one.
Another one. So awareness is a huge one, right? So awareness of, what's cultivating awareness of what's going on in this interaction, right? And simultaneously the capacity to detect what's going on within me, right? And even further, like what is going on in the group? Let's say we're in a group. Okay, what is going on with my relationship with this person in the group? What's going on internally in my own nervous system? And what's going on, like big picture. So that awareness requires a lot of skill to cultivate, right? A lot of it also requires, sorry, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is when you said that, what it made me think of is emotional intelligence, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that kind of power is the way you describe it is very much linked to emotional intelligence, where you understand your own emotion and how they act in your body. You understand the other people's emotion and how they react in the body, and then you can have a bigger, stronger communication, which is more aligned with everybody's emotion, right? Like if somebody is sad and deflated, you won't have so much power coming in. It's like, hey, how are you? It's like you gotta read the room, as you said, and really understand that which level you gotta come in, and you could work at raising the room as you go along, but don't come in here when they're there. Oh, you can't see my hand. Don't come in here when they're there, because it's gonna be like, whoa, you're gonna bounce them back on their chair, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that speaks to sort of like, okay, how swiftly can I read the room and adapt my own behavior so that I can best connect with people in here. Yeah.
And that's power in some ways. I really appreciate you giving that definition for sure. Yeah. Description. That's super cool. Yeah. And what else are we gonna add? Do you remember?
Oh my goodness, so many more things. So Enteroception is part of that awareness. So our ability to detect what's going on, inside. Oh, wow, like my heart's beating now, like really fast now. I must be nervous. No, okay, I'm going to reframe that to excitement. Wow, like it's really hot now. I'm going to change what I'm wearing so I can be more relaxed and comfortable, right? So physiological internal awareness, it's called interoception, and that can also increase our power. It can even increase how long we live.
Oh, really? So why? Because we're more aware of where we're at every time, and then how does that change the longevity?
Right. It's an interesting question. UCSF's been doing a ton of interesting research around it, and there are assessments we can take to measure our interoception. But yeah, if we're just more attuned to the subtle shifts in our body,
Uh-huh.
or like yogically cultivating that awareness, or through whatever physical practice or meditation practice, there's a higher chance that we're going to notice something's a little off, make a shift. Whether it's like making a doctor's appointment, right?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
Or changing a habit, right? Being like, like I feel awful after I eat or drink this. I'm going to start eating and drinking that, right?
Or also, I feel awful after I have a fight with someone. So
Exactly.
how can I have less fight with people so that I'm not gonna have like those hormones being released in my brain that kind of reduce my immune system, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
The
can
really
see that. Yeah.
impact on our nervous system. Yeah. Adjust and modify our behavior.
Wow.
Yeah.
So as a coach, what's your favorite tool for supporting people and cultivating more power? Like what do you like to, how do you bring your clients into working in this area?
Yeah. Well, there are so many. Again, like we addressed two of the spokes of power, but they're like 30 we could go into. And similarly with the tools, the different modalities we can use to, as a coach, to engage a client in cultivating more power. There's so many. I do have, there are literally power skills we can work on that are very practical. And some examples of power skills are, the power skill of turning a complaint we might have or dissatisfaction we might have into a very specific ask, whether it's in a relationship or at work. How do we almost transmute, how do we transform that dissatisfaction and complaint into a request, right? An effective ask. So that's a power skill we can work on. Another example of a power skill is to manage resistance by learning to engage with it. Okay.
So what do you have an example of how that would work?
Well, like if somebody if you make an ask, right? And somebody's a no to it. Let's just use the example of like, hey, can I have a raise, for example, right? That's a common one. And no, like the budget's frozen, blah, 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 right? So how do we engage with that? No. Do we just say, oh, okay, got it? No raise for me, fine. How do we kind of like dance with it, play with it, be curious about it? How do we engage with the no and explore it a bit versus simply,
taking it and walking away?
Yeah. Which may be completely appropriate, right? Sometimes it's always context specific, but to get rid of the fear of
and also feeling deflated, right? Like how do you walk away still with your power without feeling like somebody just say, sorry, no.
Right. Yeah. That's another power skill. Yeah. Another power skill of like self-regulation around.
Yeah. Oh, that's super cool. But so tell me also, like who's your ideal client? You talked earlier about like C-suites, but is there a variety of clients? So who do you like to work with and who likes to work with you?
Yeah, great question. I enjoy working with established leaders who are already very successful, and high performers who are simply, they might be stuck on some front a little bit, like there's something getting in the way between them and that promotion, or maybe there's a recurring pattern at work that is causing some friction. So I love working with high performers who are already demonstrating profound like talent and skill at something and just need a little support getting to the next stage. that said, I also love working with, rising leaders, right? Like who is interested in stepping up to leadership? Who is interested in conscious leadership, right? With humanitarian vision and a people first orientation. How do you do that? How do you like rise and step into power consciously?
Mm-hmm. You saying that made me think of, a person that is ambitious and wants to get into a C-suite, right? For those that don't know, a C-suite is like CEO, CFO, all the C. So that's why we call that C-suite, just in case you didn't know. But people that want to get into one of those positions but never had it before, but they feel a little bit like, ooh, I'm not sure. And then they would be coached by you, and you will kind of show them different ways, and they would practice different ways in themselves to rise up to that level and to be powerful, right?
Right. And it can even be, like managers, directors, or just people really motivated and inspired by possibility, right? So there's a certain optimism and courage in my clients.
Yeah, obviously, for sure.
Yeah,
because,
a desire to serve.
Yeah, because to take that type of coaching, to receive that type of coaching, and to work on yourself on that level, you really have to be courageous, because you, first of all, just acknowledging that I don't have all the power I would like to have. Like I'm, not powerless, but not as powerful as I would like to be portrayed. I want to be the one that people, oh, she's there, right, walking into the room, and then to be able to have the vulnerability to say, I'm not there and I want to get there. So, Alicia, can you assist me into getting to the next level and rising up my game and have more confidence? It has a lot to do with confidence also, I imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's an act of humility and courage to pursue of any sort. Yeah, completely.
Yeah, that's great. So, any last insight that you'd like to share, and how can people contact you or talk with you? So how does that work?
Yeah. Well, I just want to share just a few more of the tools for cultivating.
Oh yeah, a few more tips, please. Bring it on.
Yeah. So I do a lot of somatic work, right? Like really getting in touch with our bodies. And for some, it comes naturally, and for some, it's a real block. But how can we start using our bodies as a tool for cultivating power, whether it's simply through posture, nonverbal communication, executive presence, which is sort of a mysterious, type of charisma. We do work on cultivating authenticity. I do work on neuro-linguistic programming, right? So it's a way of working with our subconscious and through our senses. There's also like breath work and yoga philosophy. And I match up the modality with what the person's interests are, right? Like which spoke of the wheel, right? Which avenue towards power is my client most drawn to, right? Which one is gonna get the quickest effects for their particular unique context. So I just love customizing each coaching engagement toward the specific challenges my clients have.
Which has a lot of value when you think about it. It's not like people are walking into a frame and they're tied into that frame and they have to follow that path. I love the fact that you're looking at the client, you're having conversation with your clients, and then you have that tools, and you say, okay, we'll go this way first, and then we'll go that way after, and oh, let's go back here because I feel that would work well with you, and I think that's priceless, just to be able to have someone like you that is able to adjust with all the tools that you have to know, okay, let's pick that piece here. It's almost like you have the puzzle in front of you, and then you can start to do this side or that side or that side, but you're going to know which piece to go get and which piece to go put together, so you can put the person back together, but with the area that have the most needed at that time, right?
Right, exactly. It's a very practical, customized moment to moment, okay, what's going to really get the results, right? What's really going to be effective? Like what modality of coaching is going to be effective for this person's unique situation, unique context, and what they enjoy doing, right? Their unique essence and flavor. So yeah,
Wow.
I appreciate that, all that you named there. Yeah, so in terms of getting in touch with me, my website's a great tool. It's just aliciamaness.com. And my email address is alicia@aliciamaness.com.
Wonderful. I'll put that in the chat. So people go in the chat right after you listen to this, and I'll put the information there.
Great, great. Yeah, and if anyone listening feels like they might be a good match for this kind of coaching, I offer complimentary chemistry sessions. So complimentary 90-minute chemistry session where it's just purely devoted to, what's alive for you today? What are your challenges? How might this modality of coaching support you in achieving, what your goals are? So it's a pure gift. Right. And then at the end of the chemistry session, if we both feel like we're a good match for working together, then we can talk about what that would look like. But I really enjoy offering that just as a way of being in service to my extended network. So everybody listening through your stream, Denise, right, is my extended network. And I just want to be in service to my extended networks and also simultaneously grow my own network, meet new people. It's just such a privilege to be doing the work that we do, Denise.
Thank you so much. And that's not like a one-time offer. If you listen to this video right now is in November 2021. If you listen to this video in February 2024, I'm sure the offer will still stand. Contact Alicia. This is archived, so they'll be here forever. So there's always reach out. It's like, oh, I missed the window of opportunity. Have power and contact her, and she'll give you more.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my practice is constantly changing and adapting to, but yeah, absolutely. Anybody who feels called to this kind of work, I want to hear from. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. And I would definitely urge you to take her on her offer. 90 minutes with Alicia. I mean, whether you feel that you can or want to move forward, I'm sure you'll get a great result just from that 90 minutes, which we already been talking 30 minutes and I already feel more empowered. So imagine her really specifically concentrating on you and giving you all her attention for 90 minutes and helping you raise to your greatness. I think that's a fabulous gift for sure. Well, thank you so much, Alicia. It's such an honor to be talking with you. And I have every week, every Monday at 12 o'clock Pacific time, I always have a guest. So next week, I'll be here at 12 o'clock with Deborah Rubin. So stay tuned. That'll be episode number, actually today's episode 14. I thought it was 13. Episode 14. And I'll be happy to check on my feed in the next few days. We'll have the information about Deborah, and then we'll be able to have you come in and see us on Monday next week. So thank you so much, Alicia. It was such a great pleasure to get to know you a little bit more, get to know what you do. And I hope people will learn a little something about you that triggers them. It's like tickle them in a sense, like the brain is like, what would you like to work with her? Don't hesitate. The information will be in the chat, aliciamaness.com and alicia@aliciamaness.com, and test it out. Test it out for yourself, and then you'll see if that works for you. So thank you so much, everyone. Don't forget to say hi in the chat. And Alicia, stay with me. We're just going to go here, and we'll talk to you another day. Goodbye. Until next time, be kind to one another.
Bye, y'all.